You were born ready.
Russell, my dog, has been ready for 55 shows on this tour.
Does he travel with you?
Yes, Russell and I travel on the Disco Submarine, which is what we call the tour bus.
Is it?
And he's also my white trash burglar alarm.
Okay.
You just put an extra length of leash on him, and you can leave the door open, and he'll start barking when you're about 30 feet out.
You can't do better than that.
No, you can't.
No, we are in your gorgeous house in Pasadena, and I understood you grew up in Pasadena.
My pop first started his practice as a doctor.
Yeah.
We lived in a place roughly the size of this little office here, the Roth family, my sisters and I. And you work your way up and out and around, and that's been the classic tradition in Pasadena. I've been here for pretty much the length of the Van Halen career. This is, you know, a lot of folks in my position like Things and Stuff, an Italian sports car with a 6-syllable name, an Italian trophy wife with a 5-syllable last name, etc. And this was the one material thing that I bought because of the great outdoors.
What did you want to be when you were 6? What did you want to do when you grew up?
I wanted to be things that were in books. I wanted to be a pirate.
Okay.
I wanted to work on an oil rig somewhere in Oklahoma and get into fist fights at a beer bar. I wanted to go salmon fishing and almost get killed.
And what did Dad have to say about all these dreams?
It was Pop who took me to all those movies that engendered all of that. It was Pop who gave me all the books and who encouraged me to read all of the magazines, etc., that encouraged all of that. And I did. The Roth show is comprised of that. So what am I looking at here? About 50 hours of this? 60? I must be a glutton for punishment.
You really do touch on everything, and that has been a great platform for you because there's no creative restraint. You can just do whatever you like.
If our stuff rings true, if what we have is actually going to race on its own, you know, you can prop something up with your famous name for a day or two, but then it's got
does it hold water?
Yeah, does it really hold water? And let's see if the internet will actually support a new idea, albeit I'm a fairly well-known name and face, but let's see if a new idea really has a chance. And boom, inside of a matter of weeks, actually, it really caught fire. That's just stellar. Stellar.
You ever get used to this?
The mechanics of shooting are really familiar. My fascination with video and film primarily is behind the scenes. That's Van Halen's dangerous little secret in that respect. We shoot all of our own video. We shoot all of our own press pieces. We generate all of our own photography ourselves. And we're art-centric.
So CD covers, artwork in there, all of that?
All of that's generated out of this room.
Wow. And you've really had some incredible video ideas, because in the 80s, your first solo work, I mean, some of the most iconic videos to ever hit MTV at the time. That's where you watched them.
My visionary approach was to take vaudeville and put it on MTV. And also, just technically, lowering the camera so you can see toes to tops, you know, watching the whole body.
But I want to talk to you about fashion a little bit, because you've always really had your own sense of fashion. And, you know, when you came out into the scene and really first made a name for yourself, that was a big calling card. Your fashion, your hair. I always remember you wearing gloves, which I loved.
As far as style, well, the hands were every Disney character you can think of, you know, starting with Mickey and Goofy and Piggy and etc., because it makes the hands really visible. It also happens like that in tap dancing. The rest of it is kind of Batman meets samurai epic times Groucho Marx. You know, it's a melting pot. Well, that's what we sell in Van Halen. Nobody wants to wear the clothes that I wear. You brought that up earlier in the interview, but you wished you had the confidence to wear them.
Is that what it was? It was a sort of a statement of confidence?
You ever try and walk out in front of 100,000 people with buttless shafts like the Road Warrior, give them a big smile and a nice, sturdy, dry American handshake with a how-do? That's what you wish you had. You don't want the pants, but you wish you had the know-how too.
But that's all about performing. That's how you get the guts to get up there and do it. And that's that's the success. That's what the success of Van Halen was, you know, you being out there with that voice, which we got to find out, when did you just determine that you had that voice?
I'm a product of the integrational busing program here in Pasadena. It started in the 60s. I started like 6th grade, somewhere in there, actually 4th grade. Was 90% black and Spanish speaking. And most of the artists that I sing along with, when I sing along with records and tapes, and you'll see it around here, there's stacks and stacks of music here, but almost all of it is R&B. It's all a product of my background in school. Going to the youth club dance was all Motown. You follow?
Yeah.
So I consciously started switching over to Shaka Khan, all right, and Mahalia Jackson, and high voices that move up, way up into high register. So I also had the, my frame has not, my size hasn't really changed since junior high school, hips-wise. So singing up high, my bellows hasn't changed, so I still got that high-pitched voice, and I started using that when I was just about into junior high school.
And what was your family's reaction and your friends?
Well, it is a, you know, to a Jewish surgeon, it sounds like a desperate plea for help. To anybody else in showbiz, it sounds like a desperate plea for attention. And to me, I was just trying to be a desperate man in search of desperate fortune.
Yeah. But was it fun for you? It was something that you enjoyed? It was.
Oh yeah, well it comes by naturally. I have a naturally rusty kind of a baritone.
You were a smoker at 2.
Oh yeah, I sounded like this when I was 6.
Does the quality of the groupie change at that point?
You know what? It actually improves a little, because then they feel there is now more purchase for them because they can take care of you.
Van Halen's career as a band has gone through so many peaks and valleys. It's like a soap opera in some cases.
Let's call it a great football movie, but please continue.
A great football movie, but it seems like now it's gotten figured out. It seems like now, you know, the tour is the focus, the art is the focus. It's almost like you got back to where you started in the beginning as a band.
I got Elvis on my elbow. If you are lucky enough to maintain a career beyond the now traditional 3.5 years, most artists, they're dead and gone in 3.5 years. And if you're going to survive that, it will be partially because, and it will also engender in you the ability to kind of pull back and start to see more pieces on the board, the way you would with a chessboard.
Right.
When you're sitting outside that board and you see all the pieces and you're learning to move more than one single thing.
Yeah.
You follow. When you start off, how many rock stars in a rock band does it take to put in a light bulb? Answer is 1. You hold the bulb and you wait for the world to revolve around you. Thank you.
When you went back on stage for the first time with Van Halen as a band again, describe that moment, your first reunion tour, your first show.
It's archly familiar. It's not like riding a bicycle, it's like bicycle racing.
Okay.
And once you've trained with somebody for many, many years, once you've, you know, the life that we led was wild and colorful and unpredictable, but we lived it together. You follow? And most people lose the enthusiasm for thinking that it's wonderful, you know? So a lot of people lament that.
Do the levels of the groupies change? Does the quality of the groupie change at that point?
You know what? It actually improves a little, because then they feel there is now more purchase for them because they can take care of you, or maybe you're not so full of yourself that there's you're a little more flexible and accepting of others' ideas.
You're a glasses half full kind of guy. But we're loving it though, and you're loving it. So that's where, you know, when you're enjoying yourself, then the fans are enjoying yourself. Is there, you know, you're talking about you're not trying to match the last goal. So are you not? I mean, the first reunion tour, I think it brought in somewhere upwards of $90 million. Are you guys looking like we need to try to meet that, or not even worried about it, just out there having fun?
Phoebe, I need that money.
Yeah. Get in line.
You just say money can't buy love, but it can buy happiness.
I think of all the education that I missed, but then my homework was never quite like this.
With a song like Hot for Teachers, pretty much every schoolboy's dream that you put into words and music, essentially.
Lyrically, but it's also big band.
Big band.
Well, that's Chick Webb at the Savoy Ballroom, you know, tap, 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 and it's super swing. It's jitterbug. Actually, it's not jitterbug. It's called stomp. When you have that doom, 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 like this, you're kind of running in place. If you saw them jitterbugging and throw them between the legs and on the sides, just, I could be convinced. You want to buy me a drink?
Someone calls 911 and David Lee shows up. Was there anybody who was like, what?
Twice. Just twice.
I read somewhere on the internet, so you never quite know how true it is, but you are also a trained EMT that worked in New York City as an EMT.
Yes. I went back to school when I was in my late 40s, about 47, and for about 6.5, 7 years, maybe a little longer. I was card carrying. I went tactical as well. My last certification ran out about 18 months ago. And I worked in, I did my internship in the North Bronx.
Wow.
And I worked everywhere that's in every one of your favorite hip-hop, downtown videos. I worked in every project, every Bed-Stuy, every East New York, every South Bronx that would have me.
Someone calls 911 and David Lee shows up. Was there anybody who was like, what?
Twice. Just twice. Out of I'm going to say 230 calls, 239 ones, then only twice. One was a rock kid who had just come from Ozfest, something like this, a giant stadium, and he was sick on a street corner. The liquor store guy called him in, says, hey, I got a sick kid. He was sitting in the gutter over there. And he tapped him on the shoulder, asked him if I could be of assistance. And, thought he was hallucinating. You know, that was a Cheech and Chong moment.
That's pretty cool.
You should have had a camera there for that. That being said, I only worked in the hood. I only worked in where Spanish is spoken.
Yeah.
Hablo suficiente español.
Hablas español, wow.
Sí, afortunadamente, la segunda lengua de este país.
Tienes que.
I'd have enough to get us in trouble and halfway out, which is by then we're at the hospital back door.
Is that something, did you enjoy that? Was that something that was very cathartic for you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, you're mixing it up.
Yeah.
You're challenging yourself. You're learning about people. And from an aesthetic standpoint, I'm in and out of all these apartments and rooms and tenements and housing to where most of us are relegated to going, I wonder what's in there. I wonder what goes on in that hotel. I wonder what happens in that apartment building. And I was afforded the opportunity to go in and
figure it out, see it
get
firsthand.
Directly involved.
What did you take from that the most? What was the most salient thing you learned?
Oh, the passions and the fears and the excitements and celebrations and horrors of every one of my patients and clients is in my music now. It's in my voice. When I write, they are all in there. Everybody that you come to know and that you meet, especially my frequent flyers, you know, looking on the computer, I can tell who's, African-American female, late 50s, closed head wound, concussion, fell down some stairs. Oh, that's Edna.
You would know by name.
Oh, yeah. At least twice a week, Edna would take her Ambien before she got to the bedroom, and she would fall down the stairs. And you come over and you go, honey, are you okay? And, you're the one from last week. How are you and everything? You got a little bump? Oh, my goodness. You take the rubber glove and you put some ice in your hand and pull it tight. So now you got a little ice pack and go, honey, you want me to hold the ice pack on your head while we, if you could, I'll take my sleepy bag. It's at least twice a week.
Yeah.
You know.
And little do they know who's helping them, who's filling up that rubber glove for them.
Yeah. And it's all the same moves that if somebody's going to drunkenly accost you in the local finer drinking establishment, while the music in the back, instead of going, is going.
So we're talking about the many faces of David Lee, your EMT hat that you've worn. But I know, and you also mentioned some kung fu when you were very young. But now you're into sword work, but describe a little bit, because it's an art, really, what it is.
First time I held a sword in my hands, I think I was 9 years old. And it was right up the street at one of the first Buddhist temples here in Southern California. My father, as doctor, had a lot of patients who were Japanese, Chinese. Big Asian community. In this part of the United States, Santa Anita Racetrack was an internment camp during World War II.
I didn't know that.
And there were 40,000 Asian folks, mostly Japanese, who at the end of the war didn't move very far. Yeah. So this is kind of where it really started on the West Coast as far as the old chopsaki, whatever. That being said, I went to all of the holidays and, the Chinese New Year's and Japanese celebration of this and the festival of that. And I saw my first martial arts demonstration when I was about 9, 10 years old. And I started on my 12th birthday, actually. It was a Tuesday night, not far up the street here. And generally, if you become a lifer, you'll choose one style of something that you're going to pursue and become more and more engrossed in that. And for me, that's the sword, fencing. There are 3 variations. Kendo, when you've seen with the helmet and you wear the thing and you have a bamboo sword, and this is do. When you hear the word do, like judo or kendo, it means it's a path, it's a lifestyle. Okay. We use do to teach kids. There's a lot of bowing. There's a lot of Mr. Miyagi wipe the floor. There's a lot of standing in line. There's a lot of discipline. We want to teach character, especially to kids, before we teach them how to strangle each other. Yeah. You follow? You got to get a nice moral core there. Yeah. When you move to jitsu style, like jujitsu or kenjutsu, it's practical. Okay. And what we're doing in Japan, one of the reasons, the primary reason I moved there, is to train with a fella, Tsuyoshi Sensei, Professor Tsuyoshi, who is also a Buddhist monk. He's the real thing. And I do that 3 and 4 times a week. We have homework with it as well. And it's a jitsu style. Think of it like fast draw. Yeah. Getting that thing out of the scabbard and whatnot. The value of that is its connection with history. It's 1,000 years old. What we're doing in there, right down to the clothing, hasn't really changed in 1,000 years. And it's all the same moves that if somebody's going to drunkenly accost you in the local finer drinking establishment, while the music in the back, instead of going, is going, and the guy's going to grab it. Hey, some drunk and agree. You're going to do the same thing with a can of Red Bull.
You better not mess with you. So drinking the Red Bull might be more dangerous.
It's all the same mechanics. Yeah. Your body only goes so many ways. I says, are we going to see Robin Hood? He said, no. I said, what movie are we going to go see? He said, have you ever heard of Marilyn Monroe?
We're a network all about movies. Your music has been in so many movies.
We're always in there somewhere.
Yeah, does that kind of, it seems like it jazzes you a little bit.
Oh, I love that.
Get a little geeked when you're watching a movie and maybe you don't even know what's going to be in there and you're like, wait a minute.
Oh, I'm routinely surprised by that. Really? Yes, I love that.
When is the last time that threw you off, when you're watching a movie and you're like, wait, hey.
Argo.
You didn't know?
They didn't tell me. We got a big scene with Dance the Night Away there. Be watching and it will somehow show up. It'll be on the stereo in the pickup truck, or it'll be in the coming out of a club as they walk by. We are part of the not just the culture, but we're part of the geography. Van Halen music goes along with, like fries with, the burger. Movies was the only time I ever had spent with my pop because he was in school. He started college, not medical school, college, when I happened. Wow. I was an accident. Mom has since allowed. I was unexpected.
You did all right. You did okay.
As I am routinely unexpected, I was originally unexpected.
Wow, so Pops had a big influence on you in regards to your love of films. He was a movie lover.
Certainly. And it was the times that we would share. My earliest memory was however old I was in 1961. I'm scared to say, probably 6 or 7. And I remember my mom and my father vividly having an argument over, so you are going to see Robin Hood, the Walt Disney black and white, I think it's Bing Crosby or whatever. Robin Hood was out. My father not making eye contact, saying, yes, Sybil, yes, we're going to Robin Hood. We got into the car, drove right past Robin Hood. This was in Massachusetts. I said, Pop, there's the movie. He said, I know that, son. I says, are we going to see Robin Hood? He said, no. I said, so what movie are we going to go see? He said, have you ever heard of Marilyn Monroe? I said, no. He said, she's in a movie called Some Like It Hot.
Oh, no, what's this?
He says, wonderful. I says, what is that movie about? He says, don't worry, we're going to go watch that movie. You'll know the story. He says, let me tell you the story of Robin Hood so that you can tell your mother.
He created a monster. And did you lie to your mom?
Oh, vividly. I remember, and I botched the job perfectly, and it caused another daily calamity at the Roth apartment. Of okay, well, how did you boys like Robin Hood at dinner time? Oh, it was great. It was about these guys who live in a forest. 2 of them are gangsters. One of them looks like this great-looking blonde lady who plays a saxophone in a traveling band, and they live in Nottingham. And one of them is Friar Tuck, who I think is a gangster from Brooklyn. And they're being chased.
Yeah. David Lee, I could talk to you all night, and your fans can also listen to you on your podcast on iTunes.
Yes.
And also the Roth Show on YouTube. And then, of course, you need them to go out there and buy their concert ticket to go see Van Halen. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. Yeah. You're
My
the best.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm hot for David Lee.
I'll teach you. Russ, can we sing? Let's see if we can sing. Good boy. Whoa.